Hi everyone, it's Matt, and welcome to Starflight Creations, my channel where I talk about my cross stitching. It's been about 3 weeks since my last update video. I meant to upload one last Friday, but life has just gotten very busy and whatnot the last little bit, which will be reflected in my stitching as I talk about that. Um, it is currently Saturday, the 7th February, here outside of Portland, Oregon. It's been raining, so at least we aren't as cold or snowy as other places of the United States. Um, but haven't had as much stitching progress as I've wanted the last little bit. What with my birthday and work and everything, things just haven't gone quite the way I wanted, but as you can see, I have rearranged my room and finally got it to a spot where you can see some of my cross stitching behind me. There's my Harry Potter Stitch Your Own Adventure by Stuart Cunningham, which I finished last year. Right, I think it was right after I started my YouTube channel. I managed to finish that, so finally got that hung up this week, and now it can be in the background for my videos. So I typically start by going over any finishes, fully finished things I have, and then moving into whips, which are works in progress. So last time, my House of Book Dragons by Stitch Crypt looked like this when you last saw it. It was 95% done. Just need a lot of the leaves and stuff put on. I put 285 stitches into it and brought that to a finish. And I even brought that to a full finish, so a FFO. This is a 14 count Ada that I hand dyed myself. And then I put it into a frame that I found at the thrift store, and then I did the mat with just some basic construction paper that I bought at work. But I like the way that it turned out. I feel like the black kind of drew out some of the darker colors in there and really set off the dragons. So I'm really happy to have that as a full finish, and then it'll go up on the wall up there. So, yeah, that was my first finish of 2026. Which granted I knew it was going to be because it didn't have that much to go. But so that was fun. Um, and then that will bring us into whips. And so the first whip that I've been working on is my Nostalgic Tarot Frame by the Witchy Stitcher. I am stitching it on a 16 count black Ada that I hand dyed myself and then painted with gold fabric paint. This is what the finished one will look like. This includes the Nostalgic Tarot Frame and all of the tarot cards. So I still need to find the spot on the website where it says the total count for all of that. So right now I just have the current count for the frame. But last time I worked on it, it the last time I worked on it, I had just put in So it was at 929 stitches out of 14,685. I have put in 278 stitches to bring it to 1,398, bringing it to 9.5%. Again, that's 9.5% of the just the frame. So that does not include all, well, I was gonna say all the stuff in this frame, but that's the bare little stuff inside this frame. Does not count in that, which because that will be the first card, the Fool. But so I did come in and I put this. I started on the frame of the second card, and then I came up here and was working on. I put in this little orange star and continued the white frame border, and then I've been doing the T for tarot. So this is one of my main focuses for a while, because I will be attending a retreat in Denver, Colorado in April. The Children of the Thread retreat put on by Cross Stitch Society, and a bunch of people there have been stitching the frame with all the cards, and they're gonna get together and do a group photo of all their finishes because they've been doing it for a lot longer, and so those are all done because they were doing it as she was releasing the cards, and I just got into it this last. I think I started in October, so I'm trying to get as much done as I can. So when I hold mine up, there's something for people to see. Um, Yeah, so currently I am using that Andrew the Runner Stitcher just he had a whip in the shape challenge where he challenged people to uh stitch so many stitches for how many miles he ran while for his marathon training. Um but he finished his marathon in December when he ran the New York Marathon. And at the moment, he doesn't currently have a marathon, that he's training for. But he just set the challenge back up. With now he's been doing walks, and he's like he's gonna do 1 to 2 walks a month, and then people can do stitches off of the walks. If you're interested in it, go look at his last video. He explains it much better. So since I was, struggling to get as many stitches into that as I wanted, I decided I'm going to do that. So far, he put up the stitches for the walks he did in January, but he just announced that like this last week. So I've been trying to get caught up on that. I'm at 202 stitches in, and there's like 245 for like one of the ways that you can do it currently. So I need 43 more stitches in that, and then I'll be caught up with that. So I will continue to use that project for that, to make sure I keep going along with that. The next project is probably the one I've got the most stitches in so far because it's been a really fast, easy, simple one for me to take to work and work on during my breaks, which is the book tracker, which I'm using to track the books that I read in 2026. And I am a little out of practice. I forgot to write down who that one's by. That one's by the Stir Crazy Crafter. I'm doing the 2023 book tracker pattern that she released. She does have the current 2026 one released, but that's just the one that I'd already had purchased, and so I just decided I was going to utilize that. So I don't have where it was the last time I showed it to you. I didn't take a picture of it because I wasn't really counting it as a whip at that point. But here's where it's looking at now. And so I have almost the entire bookshelf completed. I just need to come down here and do the last, I think just the last two rows down at the bottom, and that will finish off the bookcase. And then it's set up to track 365 books over the year. And so I was trying to decide if I want to separate them out by month, or if I just want to track the books. And I think I'm just going to track the books because, like, in January I only read like 6 or 7 books. So I was thinking about like just like separating them out and putting like some like potion bottles or something in there. But I decided I'm just going to um keep track of the books. And I'm also going to try and like separate out the colors because I was just going to put them down in the order that I read, but like as you can see here, these were the ones I read, and I've only gotten 2 of them in there so far at the moment. But since they're both from the same genre, they're both in red, and they don't separate that well. So I think I'm going to just kind of scatter them around and just try and fill in with different colors, so that way the different colors separate them a little bit more than the back stitching. So that has been what I've been using for working at working on during my breaks and lunches at work, which I think like just a couple more days will finish that off, which is good because I've got another project coming up that will be good to swap out for that. And then the next one I had was when I was doing for Darkthorn Keep. So Darkthorn Keep is a stitching game that I kind of adjusted off of Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on YouTube's Her Milestone Manor. So for Milestone Manor, she is exploring her house, and each time she enters a room, it generates a boss monster for her to fight, and that boss monster is one of her whips. And then she rolls to see how many stitches she needs to complete it, and she either moves on to the next one after defeating it, or gets sent back to her starting point and has to do it again. Her thing was all focused on milestones because she has a lot of full coverage projects that are a ways into the project, but she wants motivation to keep going, so she's trying to hit her milestones. I have a lot of full coverage projects, but unlike her, most of mine are towards the beginning, so I'm not going to be hitting any milestones anytime soon. So what I was looking for was something to just keep me stitching on them, so that's why I decided to call it Darkthorn Keep, for keep stitching, and because they were sitting in the dark for dark. So I am doing it, so I just go in and I was rolling to see how much it took to defeat the boss, and then I had things to give me rewards for if I completed certain challenges, punishments for if I didn't complete certain challenges. So like if I stitched every single day for a week, I would get a reward, and I could spin the reward wheel and see what it was going to be. But if I didn't stitch a day, then I'd spend or I would generate a smaller monster, and so I'd have to put in an extra 100 stitches into that boss to defeat the smaller monster. This one's time with Dragon's Lair, I spun 600, or I spun Dragon's Lair, which is a chart by Matt Stawicki, by having enough designs. It's now retired from there. Um, it rolled for 600 stitches, and this is one of those ones where I learned that when I have a big number like that, I'm a really slow stitcher, so it kind of really discourages me because I know I'm going to spend most of my work working on that one project and I'm not going to touch anything else. Um, so with this one, it was the first time I failed to complete a project. Um, so I only got 88 stitches in, and so this is what it looked like the last time you saw it. And this is what it looks like now. Uh, Probably doesn't look vastly different. Um, so I decided to revamp how I'm doing it, and so from now on, I'm not going to roll for stitches. Every single time I start out my 2 weeks of recording, I will work on my round robin piece and uh, any stitches I need to put in for it, walking into shape. And then I will spin for Dark Throne Keep. And whatever comes up, I'm going to put 100 stitches in. And then if I have any extra stitches that day, they'll go into any project that I want to do. If I do my 100 stitches and decide to call it a day, then I decide to call it a day. I just really decided that I want to keep stitching on them. I want to keep making progress, but I also have a lot of other crafts that I would like to do. Like I haven't really got any progress on my book that I'm writing in a while. I have a bunch of crochet projects that I'd like to be working on. There's a bunch of other projects I have that could use some time, so I don't want to just punish myself if I'm not just cross stitching every single moment of the day. So I decided this way I can do it. I can put my 100 stitches in. If I want to do more, then I can do it on whatever one's calling to me. If I don't want to do more, then I won't feel bad about just going and doing whatever else I feel like doing at the moment. So that's how it's going to be going forward. And then if there's any more days left at the end of the week, I'll just spin and put 100 more stitches into the next project that comes up on my wheel. So then the next thing that I have to show you is my project that I'm working on for Stitching Connection. Stitching Connection is a round robin being put on by Jason X Stitches here on YouTube. So he got a group of 76 people together, and then he put us into groups of 4, and then each group worked out projects that they were going to work on between themselves, and they either chose a project that's small enough that everybody can do their own, or they took a project and split it into 4, and then one person will stitch a fourth of it, and it goes to the next person, and they'll stitch a fourth of it, and then it ends up coming back to the person at the end. So we're on our second rotation. So I have a project that is my group mate Jones project, and that is Hardin Privé's Patchwork de la Plague. So this is a really small one, so it's not one that I have really worried about because like the one I chose was slightly over 5,000 stitches, and this one isn't anywhere close to that, so I haven't been like really freaking out about it, but I also feel like I'm slightly behind a little bit just because we could be, at the end of February sending it off again. But then I haven't really been hearing a whole lot from the rest of the group members, so I've just been trying to focus on doing a little bit every week. It's just that way I'm not terribly far behind. But like I said, this one I haven't been freaking out about putting a whole lot of stitches in. That being said, I have put in a good amount of stitches. The last time you saw it, it looked like that. Nope, that's the wrong one. It looked like this. Um, and so I put in 165 stitches, bringing it up to 534 stitches of my quarter. So here's what it looks like now. And so this quarter here is mine. And so this time I came up here and put the boat in and the sun. And I think I might have finished off some of the cloud. And then I came down here and finished off the banner and put in the heart. And then started on the lighthouse. So I just have the back stitching here and here, and those two blocks will be done. And then I have this block and this block that are totally mine. And then these ones are half mine. And then I have this one which has like two fish and a seahorse. And I think it ends halfway through the seahorse. So I'm a good way done. But like I said, I am not freaking out too much over this one. It goes by really fast when I actually start working on it. So I feel like just probably a day a week if I do it, or maybe a day every 2 weeks if I put a large amount in that day, we'll just knock this one out. And then, you know, if the group does start contacting me and let me know that the rest of them are ready to go, I can just spend some time on it to knock it out in, a couple of days. Um, so then the next one I worked on for Darkthorn Keep was the magic book. Um, Forgot what that one's from. Sacred Thread Design on Etsy is where I got that. Um, so that's what it will look like when it is finished. This is what it looked like the last time you saw it. I put in 333 stitches, which was 100 stitches for its spinning, and then 200 stitches to cover days that I didn't stitch, so to knock off those small monsters. So I did lose all of my experience points when I was defeated by Dragon Slayer. So this will be the first one amount of experience points I'll have now, going into my level 2 as I work my way back up. So this is, and also somehow when I put this one in there, I realized that I didn't have the right number of stitches. I had it for like 123,000, but when I looked at Pattern Keeper, that was not the number. So it is at 1,121 stitches now of 223,065 stitches total, which brings it to 0.5%. So a small start. And so here's what it's looking like now. And so I went in here and started putting in the black. And then I finished the black in the area down there where I was working. And then I decided that I wanted to get some good, easy stitches going in. So I went over here and started, this goes up into the castle. So I went in and just found an area where I could put in a large chunk of stitches, which was the black stitches. So I've been doing that. Um, So that is the last of this stitching I have to show. I did get to play around with my stats sheets that I have for Notion, and so I figured out that I did 5,050 stitches in the month of January, which then I put into the RPG character creator that was created by Michael of Uplift Stitches, where it takes the number of stitches that you've done each month and puts them into the spreadsheet where it's like how many stitches you did for sales, how many stitches you did for challenges, how many stitches you did for in-season stitches, how many stitches you did for out-of-season stitches, and it generates points by how many stitches you did in all of them, and then you take those points and you put it into a different part of the spreadsheet, and it generates something for each month off of character creator view. So this month's was your race, and so I put in my I think 330 points and got an elf. Um, so that was fun to play around with a couple of different things that were tracking your whole progresses. Um, and so this last 3 weeks, I've done a total of 1,811 stitches, which is really light because the last time that I recorded, it had only been off of 2 weeks, and I got 4,088 stitches. So this was not a great 3 weeks stitchy wise, but I'm hoping that I'm kind of over that hump. And also, I did like a lot of other things like clean the room, my birthday, extra things with work and whatnot. So I'm hoping that that may change going into the next couple of weeks. Um, I did have a couple of pieces of haul because for my birthday, my mom did buy me, well, she was buying me a pattern, but then by the time I went to buy the pattern, Heaven and Earth Designs was having their sale, and so I ended up getting two patterns. so she, so one of the things that I was supposed to start last year, well, I was supposed to work on it for my birthday, but the fabric that I had bought in for it, somehow I bought the wrong size. And by the time I realized that it was like really late, so I now have the right size fabric. I managed to order that and get that in, but I didn't manage to get started on working on it for my birthday. I do plan to get that started in this week, but that is Year of the Dragon by Yasu Art Studios, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. So for my birthday, my mom got me the companion piece that they just released, which is Year of the Snake by Yasu Art Studios by Heaven and Earth Designs. And then I also got Scarlet Mage by Anne Stokes. So I don't have plans to start either of those two anytime soon. But that is my recent haul. And so that will take us into plans. So, like I said, my plans will be uh, the walking whip into shape, which I'll put into nostalgic tarot frame. Um, one stitching session per week or per 2 weeks, depending on how far I feel like I'm getting on it, put into the stitching connection piece. And then once those two are done, I will be doing spinning for my Darkthorn Keep piece and putting 100 stitches into that, and then either working on whatever I want to work on or spinning again. But that way, if I decide not to spin a day, I really won't feel pressured to get so many stitches in each day. So that way, if I want to do a project other than cross stitch, I can. For new starts, I didn't manage to get either of the starts I had for January end. So for whip go, I decided to do a new start whip go. So I've got my advent calendar finally here. I think it came in on like the 20th of January. And so I waited way too long for that to get going. And so January was called 2 and 7, which was Night and Day by Yasu Art Studios, and Penance by Long Dog Samplers. Um, well, actually, I think I didn't draw those. By the time I got here, I just put in two that I'd been planning to start because it was already so late. But then my fabric was all wrong, so I wasn't able to start them like I wanted to. Because the other fabric that I bought in at the same time to go with the Year of the Dragon one, I also bought to go with for Night and Day. But then that was the wrong size fabric, so I didn't get a start on it. And then the one that I got for Penance, it just turned out the wrong color, and so I never got to start on it. But then for next week or next for February, um, we had number 5, which is our Acorns and Threads. It's actually Acorns and Friends, which is this pattern that I got for that Lola Crow did for Acorns and Threads, which is my LNS local needle shop in Portland, outside of Portland, Oregon, in Beaverton. So this is what it will look like. And so this is the one I was talking about earlier that is going to replace Book Tracker for the one I can work out on at work. It's a smaller piece, and so I do have a piece of 20 count Ada on hold on a second. What is this on Country Mocha. So I decided that I was going to use this. I kind of was a little hesitant because I was worried that the brown for the trees would fade in, but I kind of did a floss toss on it, and I think it'll go fine. Um, if not, I may have to adjust one of the brown colors and make it a little bit darker, or do some back stitching. But I think it's gonna go good on this. So that one I'm going to start soon, and like I said, I'm gonna use it for my work piece. Um, the other one that I got called for this month was 22. Um, which is Colorful Jungle Stroll, um, which is by who's that by? Uh, Jim Zuckerman, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, and I got the max color version. So I will start that one here in a couple of weeks. Um, and so what I'm going to do is, if I get them started and get 500 stitches into them, I will put $5 into that spot. So I'm hoping that in this month I want to get my birthday start going, because that one I was doing with Asal with Celine. I think it's Spicy Selena Crafts um, here on YouTube. So I was doing to sell that with that. So I want to get caught up on that, and then I need to do the two for February. Then I'm hoping to get caught up on at least one of the ones for January, and get the 500 into that. And if I can get caught up on that, then I'll put the $5 into that. If I can't, then I won't. But I do have for the rest of the year to get them started and um, up to their 500 stitch limit. Um, I just decided to do it this way because I had a lot of projects that were piling up in stash. And not that I didn't want to work on any of them, but also like I was working on the stuff I have, and I'm kind of like transitioning out of a monogamous stitcher, but still with my ADHD, like object permanence. Like if I don't see it in front of me, I'm not going to remember it's there. Which is kind of why I did the wheel, so that way it'd pop up on there. So I thought about just doing a wheel for new starts, but I decided to do this because I wanted to do Whip Go, but I just didn't feel like I had enough projects. Number one, to do Whip Go on, and number two, like I already like had a bunch of things I was trying to put things on, so I decided this would be a good way to pull things out of my stash and start working on all the things that I want to work on, but also at the same time have fun with WhipGo. So this way I've got 24 projects that I want to start on throughout the year, and 2 will be called each month. So yeah, so at the end of the year, hopefully I will have all of these boxes filled up with money, and then that can go towards retreats for next year. Um, and other than that, the only other plans I've got going is that we're already a good way into February. I have a retreat that I'm going to in April, the Children of the Thread retreat. So I want to make a bunch of table gifts, and then a bunch of padfolios for people that I'm going to meet up with, like Joshua from Crush Sisters in Cambria. I know he's going to be there. There's someone else that I follow who I'm pretty sure is going to be there. I think it's Natasia, something like that. I think she's also going to be at that one. So there's a couple of people that I just kind of want to make fun little padfolios for. So I need to get started on those. I'm going to try and make a template so that way I can just cut out. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of fabric that I've collected the last year, as you know, the Walmart I work at has had things go on clearance. So I've just bought fabric. One of the people that retired, his mom passed away, and he cleared out her quilting room, and I got so much fabric that was just all ready and for very cheap. So I've got a whole bunch piled up there. So if you happen to be going to Children of the Thread, let me know, and I may come with a padfolio for you. Other than that, I will be back here in a couple of weeks. I am going to try really hard not to be late this time and be on time. So in 2 Fridays, and hopefully I will have a lot more stitching to report to you. See you then.